Hi everybody, and we're going to do a spot of pruning. So this is a plum tree. It's a Victoria plum. It fruited really well last year, and we're just going to use this as an older tree to show you how really easily you can prune this. So you'll notice right away there is a piece of wood holding up this branch. The weight of fruit on this last summer was incredible, and rather than have it break the branch off, we held it up. But I'm going to remove that, and we're going to talk about what you need to do just to do a simple pruning. So let's talk about the tools. So first of all, you need secateurs. Secondly, if you've got thicker branches, that is thicker than your thumb, even that thumb, you use the loppers, and the saws are for anything bigger than that. Now, you'll notice that I do not have a chainsaw here. If you're having to lop off something that is big enough for a chainsaw, then you will need to do a video on that in the future, but this is what we've got at the moment, and these tools are fantastic for this tree. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this piece of wood away from the tree, because then I can see exactly what is going on. And obviously we need to address the problem of the heavy fruit burden on this tree. So let's just get that out of the way. Now, it's an old tree. You can see there's a lot of dead wood on this trunk. You can see that before we bought this house, this tree has been massacred, and this is what happens when you do not leave a collar when you're pruning. So the guy who had the house before has cut this basically into the trunk, and if you do not leave a collar when you're cutting, this is what eventually happens: a hole will form. So that's leaving this tree open to disease. You can see there's a bit of bracket fungus there, there's some more there. So whenever you're cutting something, you leave a little collar, and that calluses over, and that's better for the tree. So now that we've talked about that, what's the things that I'm looking for? Now, we live in the south of France. It gets very hot here in the summer, but we're out here right now, the first week of February, and it is very cold. I can tell you, I've got my fingerless gloves on, and the tips of my fingers are freezing because it is only 3 degrees right now. We don't really get snow, but we do get hard frost down to minus 15 degrees C. So what I'm looking at here is to clear this trunk. So anything that is sticking out, this trunk is about 20 centimetres in diameter. I'm looking at taking out anything that is within a foot of this trunk. So snags like this, even though these are fruit and buds, that's going to come off. And it's a small thing, so I'm using my secateurs. And I'm just snipping it off like that. We'll talk about this guy later. These are water shoots. I'm just looking up the trunk to see what there is. And I'm cutting them so that I'm leaving a collar. Now, I've been round, and that's the only thing that's clearing that trunk at the moment. So, nice and clean. The next thing I'm going to do is look at water shoots. Now, I left this last year, and it was one single water shoot, and you can see now it's gone right up into the tree. It's rubbing and causing congestion in those branches. This is all growing upright, and what you're thinking about when you're pruning in the winter is for fruiting buds. Now, I'm not interested in this tree growing so much, so I'm going to take this whole branch out. It's too thick for my secateurs, it's too thick for my loppers, so I'm going to saw this off. So this is the best one for me. It's a lot easier for me to use. And just when you get almost right through it. There we go. Just support that. You can see I've left a little collar, and I'm just going to take this branch right out and cast it aside out the way, and that is much better. So I'm going to take off a few of these water shoots. And that will clear the trunk a little bit, and that lets light and air round that and should prevent any further disease coming into this tree. So as I said, this is a Victoria plum. It's really hardy. It produces a lot of fruit. So what am I going to do next? Keep watching the video and find out. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove this upright branch. So one of the things that you need to remember is that more fruit forms on horizontal branches than it does on upright branches. Now, this is upright. You can see there are a few fruit buds. It's rubbing up at the top there. But these horizontal branches have got far more fruit buds. So these are the fruit buds here. So this one is going to come off. So it's growing upright, but it is also growing into the centre of the tree. So that's the way. And you can see it's much more open now. So the trick is to stop and walk around your tree. Less is more. And what I'm going to do now is tackle this branch here, which is very heavy in the summer. So what is the rule of thumb for this? Remembering you get more fruit on horizontal branches, but all these branches underneath the main branch here, all these little branches, if it's underneath, it's coming off. So that one there will come off. This branch here is growing out a little bit. That's an underneath branch. It's coming off. Coming off. So that's much cleaner there. And I'm just going to leave that branch like that and move on to another one. So this branch here is filling up a little space. I'm quite happy with that, so I'm going to leave that alone. And up here, we're starting to get a bit of congestion. Now this is growing upright, so that's coming off. And all these branches are forming fruit buds. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to move round to the back of the tree. And remember what I said about keeping the trunk clean. So that's coming off. And I'm just looking at this one. I'm looking at this one. That's very congested. And there's actually a wee bit of damage on here, which could be canker. So that's out. Again, if you have a look here, you can see that the branch, there's a tiny bit of canker in there and a tiny bit of canker in there. Now, I'm not going to be pedantic and cut that above there. I'm going to take it right back and chop that whole bit out. So, and that's too near the trunk. And then we're just going to move on to this one here. So underneath branch, take that out. Underneath the branch, take that out. And that one can come out. This one's rubbing a little bit, so I'm going to take that all the way out because I can see that there's another bit of canker damage there. And I'm just going to leave that branch as it is. Quite happy with that, quite happy with that. We're moving on to this final branch. So this bit's actually okay. It doesn't bend down with the weight of the fruit. The form of this tree is that it slightly weeps, and I'm okay with that. I am just going to remove some of the underneath branches. So I'm going to take that one out there. And that's underneath. That's dripping, so that's underneath. You've got a wee bit of damage. Right, so I'm quite happy with that. Now, this branch here has a little smaller branch coming out and it's bending back in towards the centre of the tree. Now, that's not a good thing because it just will end up being congested. I've got enough things going on here at the end, so I'm just taking that out and you can see the nice collar that I've left, and that will just callus over. Right, so this little joint here, there are two branches coming out the same hole. It's a wee bit heavy, so I'm looking at which one I want to take out, and I want to leave some space, so it's a bit difficult to get into. Don't want to damage the other twig. I can't get the loppers in there, so I know I'm making a hash of this, but I'll tidy it up. That's out there. And I never paint anything on the cup. All the old wisdom used to be that you painted branch cut on it, and I just don't do that. The wisdom now is that you do your pruning on a dry day, and this will just naturally callus over. So John has handily spotted one of these branches, this one here, which is growing down and interfering with the other one. So the trick is getting the loppers in. So I'm just going to take that one out and remove it. Okay, so now we just have a little look at the tree. We've got another audience over there, of course. And that is a much better job. We don't need to put the wooden stake back up because we've removed a bit of the weight. And that is pruning of this plum tree done.